The massive doors of the Galactic Senate chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Ambassador Lee Hanna walked through them with steady steps, her black diplomatic uniform crisp and formal. Behind her followed 3 other humans, their faces calm but watchful. The chamber stretched out before them like a great bowl, filled with hundreds of different alien species, sitting in floating pods and biochambers. Hannah had been to this place many times over the past 5 years. Each visit had been building toward today. Today, Earth would finally learn if humanity deserved a seat among the galaxy's ruling powers. The chamber buzzed with alien voices speaking in dozens of languages. Some delegates clicked their mandibles together. Others communicated through color changes in their skin. A few species made musical sounds that somehow carried meaning. But all of them were talking about the same thing, whether humans belonged here. Hannah took her place at the speaking platform in the center of the chamber. The metal felt cold under her hands as she gripped the edges. Around her, nearly 800 alien representatives waited in their designated areas. Some looked at her with curiosity, others with obvious distrust. Speaker Velteron, a tall being with 4 golden eyes and skin like polished stone, raised one of his 6 arms. "The chamber will come to order," his voice boomed through hidden speakers. "Today we vote on Resolution 4 Alpha 7, the admission of species designation human from planet Terra, Sol System, to full membership in the Galactic Senate." A holographic display appeared above the chamber, showing Earth as a small blue dot. Hannah had seen this image countless times, but today it looked different, smaller, more fragile. The floor recognizes Ambassador Velketh of the Hegemony Coalition. Speaker Velteron announced. A massive insect-like creature rose from its biopod. Its wings buzzed softly as it spoke. "Honored colleagues, we have watched the humans for 100 of their years. Yes, they have helped with medical research. Yes, their engineers have assisted with some projects. But look at their history." The holographic display changed, showing images of human wars. Cities in flames, weapons of destruction. "These beings fight constantly," Velketh continued. "Even now, on their home planet, they maintain vast armies. They solve problems with violence first, diplomacy second. Do we want such creatures sitting among us, making decisions that affect billions of peaceful beings?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Hannah kept her expression neutral, but her jaw tightened slightly. Another delegate stood up. This one looked like a jellyfish floating in a tank of water. "The Aquatic Council agrees with the hegemony. Humans expand too quickly. They claim new territory without asking permission. In 50 years, they have established colonies on 12 worlds. What happens when they want more?" More voices joined in. The Crystalline Collective spoke about human recklessness. The Gas Giant Federation worried about human unpredictability. Species after species stood up to list reasons why humanity could not be trusted with real power. Hannah listened to it all. She had heard these arguments before in smaller meetings, but hearing them all together in this formal setting felt different. It felt final. The floor recognizes Ambassador Park Miho of the Outer Rim Territories. Speaker Velteron said. An alien that looked like a walking tree made of metal stood up. "My people have worked with humans for 30 years. They helped us rebuild after the Plague Wars. Their doctors saved millions of our children. Their engineers designed the fusion plants that power our cities. We support their admission." A few other species spoke in favor of humanity, but Hannah could count them easily. Maybe 20 supporters out of 800 delegates. "We will now proceed to the vote," Speaker Velteron announced. All in favor of granting full membership to the human species. Green lights began appearing on the display board. Hannah watched them flicker to life. 21, 25, 30. The number climbed slowly, then stopped at 37. All opposed. The board exploded with red lights. They appeared so fast that the display could barely keep up. Hundreds upon hundreds of red lights, representing species that rejected humanity. When the counting finished, the number glowed bright red, 723. Abstentions. Yellow lights flickered on. These came mostly from smaller species, ones that probably did not want to anger either side. The final count 124. The vote is recorded, Speaker Velterun said. His voice carried no emotion. Resolution 4 Alpha 7 is rejected by a margin of 723 to 37, with 124 abstentions. But Velketh was not finished. The insect creature rose again. Honored colleagues, I propose a secondary resolution. Given the clear will of this body, I move that we impose immediate trade restrictions on the Sol system. These restrictions will remain in place until the human species demonstrates that it has learned to control its aggressive tendencies. This vote was even faster. 689 in favor of restrictions. Only 18 opposed. The rest abstained. Hannah walked to the central speaking platform one last time. The chamber fell silent. Every alien eye's sensor and detection organ focused on her. "Honored delegates," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "You have spoken with one voice today. The message is clear. Humanity is not welcome among you." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled representatives. "Earth will remember this decision. We will remember who stood with us and who stood against us. We hope you will remember it too." Something in her tone made several delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. The words sounded polite, even respectful, but underneath them was something else. Something that made the chamber feel suddenly colder. Within 6 hours, the human delegation had left Nexus Prime. They took nothing with them except their personal belongings and a copy of the vote records. The galaxy had made its choice. Now humanity would make theirs. Dr. Kim Young-ho pulled off his surgical gloves and dropped them into the disposal unit. Through the window of the medical bay, he could see the sprawling city of New Arcadia stretching across the alien landscape. For 3 years, this place had been his home. The Arcadian people had welcomed human doctors with open arms when the Krona's plague first appeared. Dr. Kim called Nurse Choi Mira from across the room. "The morning shift reports are ready." Young-ho nodded and took the tablet from her hands. 43 patients treated overnight. All of them would live because of human medical knowledge. The Krona's plague had killed millions before Earth's doctors arrived with the cure. Now it was just another treatable disease. His personal communicator buzzed. The message was short and came directly from Earth Command. Protocol Exodus. Immediate. Confirm receipt. Mira saw his expression change. "Doctor, is everything wrong?" "Pack everything," Young-ho said quietly. "Medical supplies, research data, personal belongings. We leave in 6 hours." "Leave?" But the Arcadian Council just approved funding for our new research wing. And the children in Ward 7 still need. "Pack everything," Young-ho repeated. His voice was firm but sad. "Those are our orders." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. On Kepler Station, human engineers began shutting down the fusion reactors that powered half the station. They cited routine maintenance requirements, but offered no timeline for when the reactors would come back online. Commander Lee Jinho stood in the control room of Outpost Bravo, deep in Void Reaper territory. For 15 years, his peacekeeping force had kept these dangerous raiders from breaking through into civilized space. The Void Reapers attacked in waves, but human ships always drove them back. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Park Soyeon, "we're receiving evacuation orders. All personnel to return to Sol System immediately." Jinho looked at the tactical display. 3 Void Reaper fleets were massing just beyond the sensor range. Without human peacekeepers to stop them, those fleets would sweep through 6 star systems within a month. "Shut down the early warning beacons," he ordered. "Wipe all tactical databases. Set the base reactor to overload in 72 hours. "Sir, that will leave the entire sector defenseless." "I know, Lieutenant, but we have our orders." On Earth, President Kwon Jae-in sat in a conference room buried deep beneath the mountains outside Seoul. Around the table sat the most important people in human government and military. The room had been built 50 years ago as a backup command center. Today, it would become the heart of humanity's future. Status report, Kwon said. General Nam, Sujin stood up. Her uniform bore ribbons from conflicts that most humans had never heard of. "Sir, All human personnel are withdrawing from non-essential positions. Medical teams, engineering corps, peacekeeping forces, everyone is coming home. How are the aliens responding? Confusion mostly. The Arcadians are offering to triple our medical funding. The Zephyrians want to negotiate new defense contracts. The Trade Federation is promising better shipping rates. General Nam paused. They think this is about money. Defense Minister Han Wuzing spoke next. Sir, our deep space monitoring stations are reporting increased Void Reaper activity. Without our peacekeeping fleets, they're already testing the outer defenses. Let them, Quan said coldly. The galaxy voted. They made their choice. Dr. Yoon Jisu, head of Earth's Advanced Research Division, activated a holographic display. Mr. President, for 57 years we've been very careful about what technologies we share with the galaxy. We gave them fusion reactors, but not antimatter containment. We shared basic medical knowledge, but not our real biological research. We showed them our patrol ships, but not our warships. The hologram showed two different spacecraft. One was sleek and simple, the type of ship that aliens throughout the galaxy recognized as human. The other was larger, more complex, with weapon systems that seemed to bend space around them. The galaxy thinks the first ship represents our best technology. Dr. Yoon continued. They have never seen the second type. They don't even know it exists. Quan studied the images. How long before we complete the withdrawal? 3 months for full personnel evacuation. 6 months to remove all sensitive equipment and data. And our other projects? Dr. Yoon smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Project Prometheus has been running in secret for 30 years, sir. We have been preparing for this day since we first made contact with alien civilization. The galaxy taught us not to trust outsiders. We learned that lesson very well. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, emergency meetings were taking place in the Senate chambers. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Human medical facilities going dark. Engineering stations shutting down. Trade routes disrupted as human-maintained equipment failed. Senator Velketh paced nervously in his private chambers. They cannot simply leave, he muttered to his aide. Humans are not advanced enough to survive without galactic support. This is just a tantrum. They will be back within a year, begging for readmission. But intelligence reports were telling a different story. Human colonies on the galactic rim were not requesting help. Instead, they seemed to be expanding, building new installations, constructing ships that did not match any known human designs. And strangest of all, Earth had gone completely silent. Not just diplomatically silent, completely silent. No communications, no trade signals, no sensor readings. It was as if humanity's home planet had simply vanished from the galactic network. The galaxy had voted to reject humanity. Now they were about to learn what that choice really meant. The emergency alarm echoed through the bridge of the Zephyrian command ship Silver Wind. Admiral Velketh rushed to the main display, his 4 eyes wide with shock. The tactical screen showed 12 red dots moving toward his fleet, Void Reaper ships, their hulls black as space itself. How did they get so close? Velketh demanded. Sir, the early warning beacons went offline 3 months ago, his communications officer replied. We've been flying blind ever since. The Void Reapers struck without warning. Their energy weapons cut through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. Ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light. In 20 minutes, half of Velketh's fleet was gone. Where are the human peacekeepers? Someone shouted over the noise. Velketh felt his stomach drop. There were no human peacekeepers. There hadn't been any for months. The creatures his people had voted to reject were the same ones who had been protecting them all along. The Void Reapers disappeared as quickly as they had come, leaving behind wreckage and dead crews floating in space. But Velketh knew they would be back. They always came back. And next time, there would be nothing to stop them. On Arcadia Prime, Dr. Chin Minyuk watched the medical reports with growing horror. The Krona's plague was spreading again. Without human doctors to maintain the treatment facilities, the disease had mutated into something worse. The old cures no longer worked. How many infected this week? he asked his assistant. 47,000 on our planet alone. The disease has jumped to 6 other worlds in this system. Chin remembered the human medical teams. They had worked 18-hour days during the worst outbreaks. Their research had saved billions of lives. Now their laboratories sat empty, their equipment slowly failing without maintenance. The Arcadian Council had sent dozens of messages to Earth, begging for help. Every message came back with the same automated response. The Terran Republic is focusing on internal development as recommended by the Galactic Senate. Please direct all requests through official diplomatic channels. The problem was that the Senate had voted to close those diplomatic channels. In the Crystal Collective's home system, engineer Thakvar stared at the fusion reactor readings in disbelief. The power output was dropping every day. Soon entire cities would go dark. "Can we fix it ourselves?" asked the plant supervisor. Thakvar's crystal body flickered with frustrated colors. "The humans designed these reactors. We know how to operate them, but not how to repair them. The technical manuals they left behind are incomplete." It was the same story across the galaxy. Human-built technology was failing, and nobody knew how to fix it. The aliens had been happy to use human engineering, but they had never bothered to learn how it actually worked. On the gas giant mining station Kepler-7, the situation was even worse. The station's life support systems had been designed by human engineers. When they started failing, there was nowhere to run. 3,000 alien workers were trapped in a slowly dying station, breathing recycled air that grew more toxic each day. The Senate chambers on Nexus Prime buzzed with panic. Emergency session after emergency session produced nothing but arguments and blame. "This is what happens when we trust primitives," Senator Velket declared. "The humans have abandoned their responsibilities." "Their responsibilities?" Senator Thekvar shot back. "We voted them out. We told them they weren't good enough for us." Speaker Velteron tried to maintain order, but even he looked worried. Intelligence reports painted a terrifying picture. Without human peacekeepers, raider attacks had increased by 300%. Medical facilities were overwhelmed. Critical infrastructure was failing. And still, Earth remained silent. "We need to send a diplomatic mission," suggested Senator Yilmaz. "Offer them something. Better trade terms. Maybe a limited membership." "Send it where?" Velteron asked. "Human space has gone completely dark. Our ships can't even find their colonies anymore." That was the strangest part of all. Human settlements that had existed for decades seemed to have vanished. Long-range sensors detected nothing where thriving colonies used to be. It was as if humanity had simply erased itself from the galaxy. But they hadn't erased themselves. Intelligence Officer Park Kyung-won knew that better than anyone. From his hidden monitoring station in the Vega system, he watched galactic civilization tear itself apart. "Status report," he said to his team. "Void Reaper attacks are up 400%, reported analyst Kim Hyojin. "They've broken through the defense line in 3 sectors. Without our containment network, they're heading straight for the galactic core." "What about the plague outbreaks?" "Spreading faster than predicted. The aliens are trying to recreate our medical research, but they're making basic mistakes. Some of their attempted cures are actually making the disease stronger." Park nodded grimly. The humans hadn't just been providing medical care. They had been containing dozens of biological threats. Now those threats were loose, and the galaxy had no idea how to stop them. And the infrastructure failures? Power grids are collapsing on 43 worlds. Transportation networks are breaking down. The aliens built their civilization on top of our technology, but they never learned how to maintain it. Through the observation window, Park could see alien ships limping past the station. They were evacuating another system, fleeing from problems they couldn't solve. Problems that human experts could have fixed in hours. The galaxy had voted to reject humanity. Now they were learning what rejection really meant. But this was only the beginning. The real surprises were yet to come. Intelligence Officer Jean Daehoon stared at the massive holographic display in the underground command center. The facility, hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, had been monitoring galactic communications for 18 months. What they were discovering would have shocked the galaxy, if the galaxy had been smart enough to look. "Sir, "We're intercepting another burst transmission from Zephyrin Intelligence," reported analyst Lee Soo-hyun from her workstation. "They're starting to put the pieces together." The hologram shifted to show a classified Zephyrin report. Jean read the words aloud. "Facility designation: Human Medical Station Omega 12. Previously believed to be Research Hospital for Plague Victims. Actual purpose: Biological Containment Facility for Class X pathogens. Current status: abandoned. Containment protocols offline." Jean felt a cold chill. The Zephyrians were finally realizing what the humans had really been doing all these years. What else are they finding? Another report appeared on the screen. This one made Jin's hands tremble. Human installation: Deep Space Observatory 7. Cover story: Scientific Research Station studying distant stars. Real purpose: Early warning system for interdimensional threats. Status: dark for 400 days. Lee Soo-hyun looked up from her console. "Sir, there's more. The Crystalline Collective just released their intelligence summary. They've identified 37 human installations that weren't what they appear to be. The display filled with a map of the galaxy. Red dots mark human facilities that the aliens had thought they understood. Medical stations, research posts, mining operations, trading depots. But now the alien intelligence services were learning the truth. Every single installation had served a hidden purpose. The medical stations hadn't just been treating diseases. They had been containing biological weapons that could wipe out entire species. The research posts weren't studying stars. They were watching for ancient threats that slept between the galaxies. The mining operations weren't digging for minerals. They were maintaining prison facilities for creatures that should never see daylight again. "Pull up the Void Reaper containment network," Jean ordered. A new display appeared, showing a complex web of installations stretching across the galaxy's outer rim. For 50 years, human patrol ships had been maintaining this network. The aliens thought the humans were just doing routine security work. They had no idea that beyond the galaxy's edge lay horrors that would make the Void Reapers look like children playing with toys. Status of the containment barriers: failing across the board, sir. Without human maintenance, the energy fields are collapsing. We estimate complete failure within 6 months. President Kwan's voice crackled through the secure communication system from Seoul. "Dahoon, what's the current threat assessment?" Jean looked at the data streaming across his screens. "Mr. President, the galaxy is facing a cascade failure. Every major threat humanity has been quietly managing for the past century is breaking loose simultaneously. Examples: the Devourer swarms in the Andromeda Gap. Humans have been keeping them in hibernation for 30 years. The containment field is now at 12% power. The plague worlds in Sector 9. Human medical teams weren't just studying those diseases. They were making sure they never mutated beyond our control. Without our oversight, we're detecting 17 new strains." Jean paused, then continued. "And, sir, the big one, the Watchers beyond the galactic rim. The aliens think empty space lies beyond our territory. They don't know about the entities that have been trying to break through for millennia. Human deep space stations have been maintaining a barrier that keeps them out. How long before they notice the barrier is failing? The Watchers? They already have, sir. Deep space sensors are detecting massive movement patterns beyond the rim. They're testing the weakened barriers. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, emergency sessions were running around the clock. The Senate chambers had become a place of panic and desperation. Alien intelligence services were sharing information that painted a terrifying picture of human activities. Senator Velketh read from a datapad with shaking mandibles. According to our combined intelligence reports, the humans weren't just another species seeking membership. They were the galaxy's immune system. Senator Thekvar's water tank bubbled with agitation. "Are you saying they were protecting us this entire time?" "Not protecting," corrected Senator Yilmoth. "Controlling. Managing threats that we didn't even know existed. Every major crisis of the past 50 years, the Siege of Altair, the Great Plague, the Reaper Wars, all of them were resolved by mysterious circumstances that we now know were human interventions." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They hadn't just rejected a species asking for membership. They had expelled the only force keeping galactic civilization alive. But the worst revelation was yet to come. Deep space reconnaissance reported strange energy signatures from the direction of Earth's solar system. Ships were moving there, lots of them, but they didn't match any known human designs. How is that possible? Demanded Speaker Velteron. Human technology is primitive compared to ours. The intelligence officer who delivered the report looked terrified. Sir, we think we've been wrong about human technology. Very wrong. The ships we're seeing, they're using power sources we can't identify, weapons we can't understand. It's like they've been hiding their real capabilities for decades. How much more advanced are they? The officer checked his readings again, hoping he had made a mistake. Sir, based on energy output alone, a single one of those ships could destroy our entire home fleet. The galaxy was beginning to understand that they hadn't just made an enemy of humanity. They had made an enemy of the most powerful species they had ever encountered, a species that had been pretending to be weak while secretly keeping them all alive. And now that pretense was over. The Galactic Senate Chamber had never seen such chaos. Delegates from hundreds of worlds crowded into emergency sessions that ran day and night. The great hall that had once echoed with proud speeches about galactic unity, now filled with desperate pleas for help. Speaker Velteron looked older than his 400 years. His golden skin had lost its shine, and his 4 eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep. The chamber recognizes Ambassador Chin Minsik of the Outer Rim Coalition. He announced with a weary voice. The alien delegate's translation device crackled with static. Honored Speaker, my people are dying. The Krona's plague has mutated beyond our ability to treat. Our medical facilities are failing. We need human doctors. The humans abandoned us. Senator Velketh replied bitterly. They chose isolation over cooperation. We chose isolation for them, Senator Thekvar corrected. The vote was 723 against admission. We made this choice. Before the argument could continue, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red as automated systems announced. Unknown vessels approaching Nexus Prime. All defense fleets to battle stations. The great viewing screens around the chamber activated, showing space around the Senate station. At first, there was nothing visible except stars. Then shadows began to move across the starfield. One by one, massive ships emerged from hyperspace. The vessels were unlike anything in the galactic database. They were sleek and dark, their hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Energy patterns rippled along their surfaces in ways that made reality itself appear to bend. As more ships appeared, they formed a perfect sphere around Nexus Prime. How many vessels? Whispered Senator Yilmoth. The tactical officer's voice shook as he answered. 436 ships, sir. Energy readings are impossible. Each ship is generating more power than our entire defense fleet combined. A new voice echoed through the chamber's communication system. It was calm, professional, and terrifyingly familiar. Galactic Senate. This is Admiral Park Jinseo of the Terran Defense Force. We request permission to send a diplomatic party aboard your station. Speaker Velteron found his voice. Permission granted. Within an hour, the chamber doors opened. Ambassador Lee Hanna entered. But she was no longer the polite diplomat who had stood before them 2 years ago. She wore a military uniform of deep black, with insignia that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Behind her walked Admiral Park Jinseo and General Kim Tae-hyun, their presence filling the room with an authority that made even the largest alien delegate seem small. But it was the fourth figure that made the chamber fall completely silent. President Kwon Jae-in walked with the calm confidence of someone who held absolute power. His simple uniform bore no decorations, but every being in the room could feel the weight of his presence. Honored delegates, President Kwon began, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. 2 years ago, you voted on humanity's future. Today, humanity votes on yours. Senator Velketha's mandibles clicked nervously. President Kwon, the Senate wishes to extend an offer of full membership to your species. We have prepared unprecedented privileges. We are not here to join your Senate, Kwon interrupted. We are here to replace it. The chamber erupted in shocked voices and alien sounds of distress. Speaker Velturon raised his arms for silence. Replace it? What do you mean? General Kim stepped forward. For 100 years, humanity has been the galaxy's caretaker. We maintained your infrastructure. We contained your threats. We cured your diseases. We did this quietly, without recognition or reward, because we believed in peace. Admiral Park activated a holographic display. You taught us that mercy is weakness. You showed us that cooperation is for fools. The galaxy voted 723 to 37 against human inclusion. Consider that lesson learned. The display showed real-time feeds from across the galaxy. Void Reaper fleets advancing unchecked toward populated worlds. Plague-ravaged planets where entire civilizations were dying. Failed power grids leaving billions in darkness. Ancient horrors breaking free from containment facilities that humans had maintained for generations. Your civilization is collapsing, President Kwan stated simply. Within 6 months, most of your worlds will be uninhabitable. The threats we contain are loose. The systems we maintain have failed. You are facing extinction. Then help us, pleaded Senator Thekvar. We made a mistake. We admit it. Please help us. We will, Kwan replied, but not as your equals, not as your servants. We will help as your leaders. The president gestured toward the viewing screens, where the human fleet waited in perfect formation. You have a choice. Accept Terran authority over galactic affairs, and we will restore order. We will contain the threats. We will cure the plagues. We will repair your infrastructure. You will live, but under human guidance. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Or, maintain your independence. Keep your Senate. Make your own decisions. And face the consequences of your earlier vote alone. Senator Velketha's voice was barely a whisper. And if we refuse? General Kim smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then you will discover what happens to a galaxy without humans to protect it. The Void Reapers are only the beginning. Beyond the rim, things far worse than raiders are stirring. Things we kept at bay while you debated our worthiness. Outside the station, more human ships continued to arrive. Their weapon systems hummed with energy that made space itself tremble. The galaxy's combined fleets would have been outnumbered and outgunned by a tenth of the human vessels now surrounding Nexus Prime. The vote was 723 against humanity. President Kwan said, "Today, humanity cast the only vote that matters. Submit to Terran leadership or face the dart alone." The chamber fell silent. The galaxy's future hung in the balance, and for the first time in their history, the aliens were not the ones making the choice.